This is your main man, and we're back again running Planescape right now. AD&D, second edition. I want to talk about the Monster Compendium. I only have 1 and 2. 3 is insanely expensive, so I don't own a copy of that. However, the stuff I really needed wasn't here. You know, we have some really great stuff from here, and I got like a million other monster manuals. Um, at some point, if you guys want, put down in the comments. Uh, Put down in the comments for if you want to see a review on these. Maybe I should actually let you see them, right? Uh, we got the full set. These are actually my son's books, but our collection is shared. So this one, I used to have a copy of this book way back in the day. I sold that a long time ago, but this one I'm well familiar with. The others I've dug into, and I've used some stuff out of them. I even used the Dust Skeleton, which was quite interesting. It was an encounter in last week's D&D session. So let me talk a little bit about these two. You want to say hi? This is Lumen over here, wearing his ghost shirt.
That's true.
Would you like to tell the people anything about your Knoll character?
I don't know.
You don't know?
Yeah.
He's playing a Knoll Ranger Bard cross multi-class in the AD&D second edition game I'm running. You want to tell them why you picked that? You want to get in camera? I don't even know if they can hear you.
I don't know. I like Rangers, and I think Bards are kind of interesting. I wanted to try to play something different, and I figured, that's probably somewhat unique. I was originally just going to play a single class Bard, but I figured I'd add on the Ranger class just to add to the backstory. I figured it makes sense.
Why did you pick a Knoll?
I think they're an interesting species or race. I think just from like their backstory, some of their culture, like some of it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense with how hyenas actually act, and also it just seems like an interesting thing to roleplay. Something that's different from the standard races significantly.
We had to sit down, and I sit down and completely rework the Knoll. It doesn't really work. I know quite a bit about hyenas, so I sit down and completely rewrote them and rewrote Yunogu and so forth. So they are a far more reflective culture, and I gave his character we took the base of the Humanoid's Handbook, then I gave him a couple other special abilities, like his character can eat bones and things that hyenas can do, right? And I gave him an attack. He's a berserker kit for his ranger, so I gave him an attack. He can bite just only when he's berserking. I allow him to add a bite to his attacks. And hyenas have a really high bite power, and he's 7.5 foot tall, so he's a big old hyena. So I think I give it like 2d4 damage, but I think I didn't let him add strength to it. I'm not sure exactly. We're talking about the two of these. Look at the artwork. The artwork just lures you in. It's so beautiful, and the green. There are settings I like. Really, I was the Ravenloft guy in high school and college. I ran one game that stretched from the end of high school towards nearly the end of college. I mean, it was 4.5 years, same game, same characters, at least the ones that didn't die. A lot of characters did die, and a lot of people showed up at my table. It was the hot spot to be on Friday nights back in high school, back in college. Sometimes I would have entirely too many people there. And there were nights when lots of people's characters died, and that was Ravenloft. That was second edition Ravenloft. That was the black box set, which I have sitting over there. And then later the red box set. I purchased that one as well. And I had, of course, sold all the originals I had are all sold, but I probably had maybe 80% of the Ravenloft material published, like 80% of it, maybe slightly higher than that. I had the Van Richten's guides. I had like all the modules, which, in hindsight, to a degree, it was a waste because while I ran some of them, I ran Feast of Goblins. I ran one of the Strahd modules. I ran stuff out of Chilling Tales and I think Ashen Crypts. Of course, The Walking Dead, which you can see, I ran that on this channel, Night of the Walking Dead, with characters from within the Ring of Fire in there. That was well done, and I ran that as a a module recently for people as well. I think maybe I'll do a review of that. I think you guys would like to see that. I know that module. I could probably run the module without the module. I've run it multiple times now. Let's just take a look at some of this art. I'll show you some of my favorites out of here and some of the stuff that I've used. A lot of times the angelic stuff sort of doesn't get as much play, right? It can be a bit harder to use because most of the time, you're not fighting a solar, and God, you need to be pretty powerful to fight one. Forget any kind of lore on them, right? Just, boy, they are vorpal severing. The animal lords, and the picture in the light is really cool. You can see the cat shadow kind of behind her, which I really showed up well, at least on my side of the camera. That showed up really well. I always thought the beast lords from like the old first edition books are really, really cool. So another kind of thing, you never know. You never know what's going to show up in my game here. Of course, devils. The devils are very important for me. These are things I really needed to go over and learn, as some of them have already been utilized. Here's the bearded devil right here. I had several of them make an appearance in a huge battle scene in Mal, the plane out of the Classics playbook. This enormous scene where they battled with the main antagonist in the story, and like the thief had crawled up and looking through this warehouse window. So I'm like describing they're doing this thing, and I'm like describing how they're gating in more of their kind. I really like that picture of the Erinyes, which they're from Greek mythology. So they're not meant to be like analogs to succubus, which is kind of what they tried to make them. But I just think that's a really good piece of artwork. I think this is a good piece of artwork too. Just a lot of them. I'll probably do that quite a bit. Lemire's, the Napurbo. I think I really mispronounced that, didn't I? The Napurbo, whatever. Fucking, I'm not AJ Pickett. He can pronounce shit right. There's another good one right there. And of course, the big daddy, the Pit Fiend. I've used a Baylor in a game before, but I've never used a Pit Fiend ever. So that could be that. Who could it be? Could he come for you, Longe? What about that, Longe? You tree folk looking motherfucker. What if you get a Pit Fiend knocking on your door? A Spinagon. I used one of these in the game. They're very interesting. So the devils in here were quite interesting, and I'm going to harvest all kinds of additions and just pull off, artwork and create things. I can certainly create whatever I want, and you should too. Don't ever look at, well, these are the monsters. No, just go find a piece of artwork online and go, just start looking at it. Like, okay, this thing looks like it would have some kind of venomous spit that comes out of it, or its blood's acid, or these claws, or it's this claw, it would hurt. It's got wings, so let's put some flight on there. Just figure out abilities, right? Just give it a few spell-like abilities, and start creating something just off that picture. Look at the picture and start building it, start making it cool. That can really be a good thing. Bodak, I have not used it in this game, but in the last game I did use a Bodak. I had it down at the bottom of this like archaeological dig. It's been anciently inside, like guarding this place, and not really because it wanted to. But it was really cool. It was all this acid, and they had like gold. That was the only thing that was really left. It was like gold, and it was a really cool scene. Not to go through it, but I do like the Bodak, and it's a scary, scary monster. There's something I never cared for. I never cared for food creatures. I just get that out of here. So just get away with that type of thing. That's not for me. Of course, the Githyanki. Everyone knows they are my favorite D&D race. I am Githyanki for life. Githzerai, Boo, boo, get out of here with that gets the right action. Get out of there with that Brady. Get out of there with that trash. Um, the Gru, I absolutely hate this picture. This is my least favorite picture in this book. The one in the first edition Monster Manuals that was black and white is so goddamn creepy looking. It is so creepy looking. Like, but this just looks stupid. Like, I'm afraid I'll kick this thing, kick the shit out of this thing. That'd be it for it. Looks like it's some kind of fucking obese fucking animal with fucking mange. I ain't afraid of that. I'd kick the shit out of an obese animal with mange. Fuck that animal. I don't intimidate me. Let's see what else we have here. Yeah, but the old picture of that is great. That picture's trash. Look at the imp. Look at how fucking repugnant he is. Imps I have used in this game on multiple occasions. Imps are fantastic because they can turn invisible. So they can sneak attack people when they have an attack that can kill you. Save versus poison or die. And they also need magic weapons to hit them, dude. But they don't have a lot of hit points, like 2+2 hit dice. So maybe you don't kill it in one hit, but depending on what it rolled, maybe you could. It may only have 7 or 8 hit points. 10 hit points, 12 hit points. They might be able to deal with it in one hit. It's got magic resistance on top of that. But I mean, they're just look at that. Even the little scorpion tail, I really like that. Yes, that must be the closet. Closets I've never enjoyed as much as imps. I've allowed a couple players over the vast years that I've run role playing games. Gosh, what have I? Oh God, a long time, long time now that I've run role playing games. 35 years I've run role playing games. Believe that. So that is something that is I've very rarely allowed it, but I have allowed players to have imp familiars before, and I had one before in a game myself. Larva. I have not gotten to use them yet, but all signs point to those will be used at some point. I did use them in the last game. They're so creepy. You set up with night hags at a night market in some far flung horrible place, and night hags are another one of my favorites. I'm just going past some of the less interesting things. So I'll show you the one I actually used. So we use the dust method. It just approached the players above, flying above, and noted them. I don't believe every encounter needs to be fighting. Just you encounter something, it's might talk to you, look at you, like what the fuck are you? And on the plane, a parallel plane of dust, you have dust methods. That doesn't mean that they're used to seeing people walking around, not at all. So that was very strange to it. So I went over to see what that was, and that's all the encounter was. Here's Night Hag, one of my favorites. The Bubba. I'm not going to get into my Night Hag voice, but I had a good Night Hag voice. They're creepy as shit. They should be really evil. Like, imagine it's like your grandmother, but she's like the most evil person of all time. Manipulative, conniving, just horrible old crone. But also they're strong as fucking of all kinds of powers. But they're not. That's not their go-to. Their go-to isn't just I attack you. I'm gonna attack. They're trying to corrupt you. They're trying to get you to let your guard down. They're trying to get you to move to where they want you. They're trying to really be manipulative, and they're cunning. They should be very very cunning. Nightmares. I let a player have a nightmare from Mount once. Wasn't a very good player though, so I don't know if you've had a player that you're really trying with, and you're really trying with, and you're trying to put every hat you can on top of them because, you know, but all the sprinkles, caramel, and butterscotch in the world don't make a shit sundae taste good. You know what I'm saying? So here you go, the Shadow Fiend. I love this artwork. It's just so creepy looking like that. That's it for me. Like not just high color, like look at just horrifying. I mean, really look at that. Like you see that like standing on your fucking wall. Ugh, that's horrifying. The Slad, and I think singly they're called yeah, the Slatty. I have a guy at work. His name is spelled completely different than that, but his last name is Slatty. And his daughter worked with us for a little while. So Slatty. So we had two Slatties. So I smartened some of the people up at work about the Slatty. He's a good guy though, and I love his daughter. She's fantastic. I've never had as much cause to use demons as I have devils in games. Although I've had a few really good demon encounters over the years. they're really not the go-to monsters I've used over the course in this game that I'm running right now. Obviously, devils have been a featured monster so far. We've seen um, four four different types of devils plus like a devil lord at least in the game, right? So if the players counted, they could count that many. Maybe there's been more. But the tannery, and of course we all hate the name tannery, right? Because we know what that is, and we had outside people taking our game from us. Um, from in the '80s, we had a lot of like right wing forces in our game, and fuck those people. Now we have a lot of like left wing forces in our game, and those people. Keep your fucking politics the fuck out of my game. Honestly, I can't even really look at a lot of modern games for those reasons. Just give it to me. Like, give me the information. I don't need your take, your position, your opinion. I don't need that. I don't care for that. I'm not paying you for it. Just let me have the information. I'll decide what I want to do with it. And don't change things to appease other people. And this was changed to appease people, and there's things now to change to appease people, and I find it repugnant. You're interfering with something that I've purchased, and I want to purchase it, not somebody's take on it, or have to make this group or that group happy. I detest special interest groups all along the board, regardless of where you are on the spectrum. If you're trying to impose your shit, fuck you. But enough political ranting. You're not here for that. Um, you're here to look at some of these great pictures and just sort of reminisce with your main man and kind of look at this stuff. But I think they're rocks. Is that the name of them? I think so. They just have this picture sort of out in the middle of space here. It's not properly with the monster, but I think that is a rock. Let me change. Wow, they have a lot of tannery in here. Yeah, you have a rock. I don't really like Varrock. I kind of like it, but also don't like it. I love things that start with V. But I don't know. The name. Another problem I have with it, like, especially an anthropomorphic vulture, right? And that's cool. But why does it also? It looks like it has like another set of limbs. So I don't really see exactly why it has that. Because they made it very bird-like, but it just looks like a vulture with adding arms on top of a vulture and making it more upright. I don't know. I'm conflicted. Anyway, there are a lot more tanneries than our Batazoo in here. So it starts off with like with a whole page to give you the generic sort of special abilities of tannery, and they have the same thing for the Batazoo. So that's great. And then you got your Alu Fiend here, which is like on the high end of maybe playable, like with a Cambion, with very powerful, potentially playable things. We can see some of these. And again, I in games I've never really used many of these. I have used a Baylor. I used a Baylor once. Uh, well, not once. I used it as like a major antagonist for a player, and we got enormous amount going around with it. We got some mileage out of I like the Baylor in my old Ravenloft game. Gregor Tracton, played by Tim, who's a fantastic player. Uh, Chasman. Now the moon, if you watch this, you might remember that we had that in the Forgotten Realms game we were playing, and that was a great fight. And he kind of monitored because they killed it, but then he's like kind of explaining how like his character way when he's like an old man, the thing finally comes back for him and it gets him. It was a really cool. I remember you done that, and I liked it. I like when you sell for stuff. There's Dretch, which are kind of an interesting thing. They're just a step up from larva. Uh, Mains, the same deal. Never used a Merilith in a game. Never used them before. A lot of times their pictures are kind of provocative. So they're a bit strange, right? Because they look like they would be with serpent people or with gorgons, like I don't know, in D&D Medusas, but they're not. Right? They just happen to be that way. So I think it's kind of too easy to say. Oh, and the serpent people they also have this with them. So anyway, there's the succubus. She is actually fairly. She's not that risque considering, but I like the artwork. This one I really like. This guy is, of course, it's an aquatic monster. So aquatic monsters are themselves kind of a thing. So then if you drop like an aquatic demon on top of that, that's it's kind of a hat on a hat. But here's Tiefling. That's one of my favorite art pieces. And I call them Tieflings. I don't say Tiefling because that sounds horrible. I fairly well hate the name. I just think it sounds terrible. This is where they started right here. They're a playable race. You know, you get some lore on them here, some like cant or whatever you want to call it, and then they just have the write up. So let me see here. I think maybe I'm wrong. Maybe this is not the. It's in the Planescape, but maybe this book just presents them as monsters. I'm trying to see if they show where the stat adjustment is. Here we are. Yes, they do. All right, so that's under combat, which is a strange place to put that. Not where I would have put it, but it says Tieflings are determined, stubborn, wily, and occasionally berserk warriors and talented mages. All Tieflings gain a +1 bonus to intelligence and charisma, and suffer a -1 penalty to strength and wisdom. I think in later editions they had a penalty to charisma, didn't they? So they've really played around with it and changed around. These are basically just sort of more generic plane touched kind of lower plane Euro, but they were a little less specific than they were in later editions. But right from the beginning, all Tieflings have infravision to 60 feet and can create darkness 15-foot radius once per day. Yeah, so they tell you some stuff here. And I think, let's see here. All Tieflings suffer only half damage from cold and gain a +2 saving throw versus fire, electricity, and poison. So those are nice abilities to have. They are not on par with, say, an elf. I don't think taking a penalty to strength is definitely really a hard hit in this edition because strength is such a like a premium stat. If your character's anything that deals damage, right? Outside of like being a wizard. If you're not a wizard, so it gets hit from like a statistical optimizing. Getting hit with strength and wisdom is rough because it makes playing a fighter. I would play a fighter in this all day long, but I'm talking about the particular person, not my take. That means you're limited to a 17 strength, and 17 strength for a fighter is +1 to hit, +1 to damage, because they have that stupid percentile strength, which is cool at the same time, but it's also stupid, right? Because you just drop an 18 in dexterity, that stat is amazing. Drop an 18 in strength, it's garbage. +1 to hit, +2 to damage. That's not much considering what dexterity will do for you. Considering you get a +4 bonus for con, considering the high amount of you can learn 18 spells a level with intelligence and a high percentage chance to learn spells. So an 18 is really strong in other stats because of the 18 double aught, which means the 17 and 16 aren't what they should be. The 16 does not compare to a +2 combo. It's a +1 to damage, no bonus to hit. A 16 is garbage, and a 15 gives you nothing. Whereas you're going to get a bonus in Dex, you're going to get a bonus in Constitution, but in Strength with the percentiles, it just pushed strength up, which means you need a higher strength to really get much value out of it, which means at the highest end, you could get a 17 strength. So it makes, in most players' minds, I think, a fighter, ranger, paladin, sort of unplayable deals, right? So I guess because you can multi-class, a thief would still be fine, I guess, if you're not trying to play a brutish type thief. But with a bonus to intelligence and wisdom, with a bonus to intelligence and charisma, this is clearly makes they make great wizards, all right. But the penalty to wisdom hurts you as being a cleric, so it takes a large amount of classes away from being optimal, which I think is fantastic. Obviously, one of my things for a very long time, since I'm almost starting new in this game, right, is to take something that, because to me, okay, that would say no one's going to play a fighter, so I'll play a fighter because no one's played a fighter. There's very few fighters, right? And I'm sure in later editions, so forth, because you don't have that penalty of strength. But early on, that's the kind of thing that would get me going. Oh, I can play a fighter or ranger or whatever, because that pool is empty. Just like playing a half orc wizard, right? No one was doing it because they were disadvantaged. They had an intelligence penalty, so it left that there weren't all these others out there, so I could more easily get my character over as being closer to unique. more interesting. So I always like to play against that. But I always really liked that artwork. Again, I hate the name Tiefling. I can't say it. They're Tieflings in my game. Fight me. And even there, I don't like that. Vargul's, which are like straight out of like lots of 80s metal, like bad stuff. I don't know. Was it Grim Reaper? I'm trying to remember who had a Vargul running around. These are, you know, I guess like old vampires. I know they had stuff like that in one of the far East European countries, and was it Malaysia? They have something like that as well. Anyway, there you go. The Arcana Loth. We've had one of those show up. I don't like how, like, look at this one. Look how cool that looks. Like, that looks alien. This looks like a daemon. This looks like some monstrous spiritual thing, and this just looks like a jackal man. You know, he doesn't look. It doesn't look extraplanar. My son's just standing or whatever. It doesn't look extraplanar. It looks too mundane. So this one I always loved it. It had this old Danzig poster like in high school on my wall. It's the big skull. It looks so much like that. It looks so much like the Danzig skull. So I get with this guy immediately. This guy's awesome. I mean, that guy he looks fucking brutal. What is he? He's 7 foot tall. So that's a scary looking dude. He's got some type of pole arm here. Well, he's got 18 double lot strength as well. That's interesting. Very nice. Very nice. I like him. This Piscaloth here. It looks almost like a chul. So that thing's quite interesting looking. Like maybe a shrimp or lobster type person. This one I think looks kind of stupid. It's like, I don't know. It's like a dog with like aquatic looking ears. I don't care for it. Ultraloth, very cool, very powerful, very menacing monster. So that is Monster Compendium 1. I'll sort of take a flip through Monster Compendium 2 if you would like to, my friends, or you can fuck off. Monster Compendium Appendix 2. So these are originals. I do have some reprints of these various books from Drive Through RPG. You can see some of them over here, and there's others because I'm using them to look through them now. You know, and some of these are my son's, some of these are mine. But this one, I used to have a copy of this back in the day too. I had a copy of that and the Planescape box set, but I never run Planescape back in the day. I have now. I am now currently. So that's first time. Look at how beautiful this piece of art is. Look at that. It's very dark though. I don't know if it's going to show up well. So trying to gauge where to put my light. I have a light source right here, and then there's another one over there. But this is the real deal light. SMR here. So I bought that because one of the players wanted to play one of these. Of course, I completely changed around because they should all be unique and different anyway, right? This is just lazy. Like if you're of the bloodline of Hyperion, right, a Titan, you shouldn't be the same as someone's a bloodline of like a Solar, right? You shouldn't be the same as someone's a bloodline of like a god of Greyhawk or whatever. You should be your own unique thing. So, plus I don't like giving players magic resistance. Magic resistance is really strong to give players in this edition. So I give him. I've given him some pretty cool bonuses though. I think David is pretty happy already with what he's had so far, and there may be more to come. But you get things like this, like, oh look, it's an ostrich. It's somehow supposed to be cool, or I guess that looks more like an emu actually. Yeah, I don't know. Fuck on that. Oh, Arcanes, one of my favorites. I love Arcanes. Love Arcanes. I actually played one time in a game, but it was also the worst game I ever played in. I believe I've talked about it in one of my previous videos, probably years ago. The guy running in, it was so horrible. I couldn't figure out what was happening. He would just like, what? I'm over here and now they get teleported? What happened? Because I'm in a tunnel and now I'm in a city. He was a gibbering nitwit. The guy name is John. He's a piece of trash. But anyway, I think Arcane are great. And who knows? Arcane may be coming to you, maybe. You could say. The Astral Dreadnought, never used one of them before. This artwork is vastly inferior to the artwork on the front of the Manual of the Planes. That looks awesome. This This just looks like a monster, you know. On the front of that, you're like, oh, run! That's the best. The best artwork of a monster is just to elicit run, run. There's no rolling a fight against it. This one's worth 22,000 experience points. Has 15 plus 30 hit points. 15 hit die plus 30 hit points. Um, yeah, I don't know. It doesn't. Just from looking at the stats real quick, 35% magic resistance, plus one or better weapon to hit. 48/48 / 2d4 anti magic fear. It's 30 foot tall, or long, I guess, and fearless, but it looks beatable here. Like, and even reading the stats, it feels beatable. And I don't know. I don't want to beat an Astro Dreadnought. I want players winning horror from it. So if you're my players, don't expect it to be anywhere near that easy. Here's just a whale, apparently. It's like, I'm a whale, but somehow also, I don't know, we just ran out of ideas. So how about a whale? That seems good, right, guys? I don't know. Fuck it. Sometimes, you know, you particularly when you're, you know, I don't know. This is kind of neat looking. I'm trying to, because right on the crease, I do not like at all. Like, I have a serious issue in fantasy when you fuck things up on a certain level. I do not like. Um, I really hate in D&D. You can flip through any of these books when you look at dinosaurs. They will have things that are not one of these books. It's not this one, but one of the other ones. I was joking. We're sitting there with my players. Literally, there's a fish. There's an actual fish and it's described in the dinosaur section as a dinosaur. It's a fucking fish. It's not a Dunkleostomies. It's something else, but a fucking fish. It's an actual fish described as a dinosaur. It's not acceptable. I don't know. It's just that kind of thing just irks me tremendously. I mean, you're making games for like nerds. Like, get basic animal information correct. The word dinosaur does not mean prehistoric real animals. I guess is what they were going for. So and that is continuously a problem and something I loathe. It's to me it's a real issue. Another thing I don't like is when something is anatomically incorrect. Like, insects have 6 legs. Insects have 3 body parts. Insects have 6 legs. Insects have 3 body parts, right? That's all insects, all of them. If it doesn't have those things, it's not a fucking insect, right? I'm not going to go into every little detail, and we can talk about, you know, body parts for spiders, but this one looks, it's right on the crease here, but it looks like it has multiple legs, and it's clearly supposed to be like a fucking cricket monster. So I don't know. I'm already annoyed with this monster. I tend to change things like that around. Dark Weaver. This is really poor placement. Like, they put all the like, look how much work they did for this, and then they just fucked it by shoving it in the corner here. Like, it needs to be. They should have put the text in the corner, I think, and then spread this out on the page. Look at all the work, all the text, and it's just crushed here in the corner. Even they made it black, which, you know, I mean, that's a push, right? And you're not quite. It loses itself. And I don't know. I don't like that. This monster looks goofy. I don't like the monsters to look goofy. I want again, optimally, if I pick it up and I show the players, I'm like, oh shit, and they want to run. That's what I want. I don't want, oh, we could whoop that's ass. That's not what I want, you know. She got a lot of tattoos for some reason. So they definitely kind of skirt, I guess, you kids call it fan service nowadays, or fucking 10 years ago. I guess that's not really modern or hip. But the Eladrin, and this book does it a lot. It's like the second of his pictures that I showed you. It's not risque, you know. They're not like nude or anything like that. But it it probably, I don't know. Maybe they push closer to tasteful with a slight tinge of erotic where it is applicable. But I don't know. I like most of it. Some of these, again, here we go. Like, look, you have this piece of art. The artist did a good job on this, but you've crushed it into a corner. Why did you put it here? Why isn't it like over here, right? And I hate where they fucking put this thing. That's horrible. It's it's a pretty nice looking piece of art. Again, it's small though. I don't just put more pages in the book, dude. If you charge me another $1, it's fine. But don't bury the art because you need to put more text in there. I want the text and I want the art. I don't want it. This piece is too small. That one's kind of neat looking. These are lads in here. So anyway, we're looking at enough of them. Here is a pig. All right, this is some type of pig, but it's meant to be like, I don't know. I'm not gonna read it because it's stupid. I'm gonna find cool stuff. Ghost lights. So I guess Will o' the Wisp wasn't enough. I believe Ghost Light is actually a name for Will o' the Wisp. So anyway, my camera, my battery on this is just about running out. So let me see if we can find a couple more, as we have been together quite a while now. Let's see. I know I got one or two more favorites here. This guy's steampunk for some reason. I like this race here. I've never used them before though. All these monsters I haven't used before. You know, I don't run heavy combat, so I don't tend to just fly through monsters. You know, oh yeah, that one looks neat. That's a good piece of art right there. Looks like a Frank character. Don't tell me that ain't your character, Frank. Frank, that's a funny good with you. I'm jumping through the air with your bitch ass. Look, I just don't care. Yeah. So I mean, there's definitely some interesting things in there. That's a really good looking piece of artwork. Hopefully that shows up okay. Because they did that a lot too. They changed the color and texture in here. Here's a goat man. So the mock's gonna be on him. All right. Well, I will see you in the next video, and we will join there.